Yes, omule wa Salon TV tuongera okula msako na jeli osibyota sebo osibyota nyabo. Enakusome ziri 21 omwezi ogw'omusanvu omwaka gwa 2020 omwaka gukyali muzibu nnyo gukyalimu ebintu bingi ebinyigiriza omwana w'omuntu ndale kirwadde ekya COVID-19. Nze Muhammad Wamala tugera kutambula mpola olunaku olwaliro nga tusuubira president w'eggwanga akadde konna agenda kuba ayogerako eri eggwanga okwongera okutangaza ku nsonga ez'ekirwadde kino ekya COVID-19. Tutuusewo olunaku olwaliro agenda kuba azzaako biki kuviira ddala gye twatandikira ate kutuuka olunaku olwaliro. Briefly agenda kuba ng'ajja nga bwe yatandika mulundi ogwasembayo. President yasembayo okwogera eri eggwanga zali ennaku z'omwezi 22 omwezi ogw'omukaaga. Kitegeeza nti omwezi mulamba gwe guyiseewo olunaku olwaliro oba gwe guweza olunaku olwaliro kubanga ate akomyewo ng'ennaku z'omwezi 21 omwezi ogw'omusanvu okwongera okulambika ensonga ez'enjawulo eri eggwanga. Agenda kutunuulira ebintu binyo byasuubira okuba nti ayogerako. Tugenda kutunulamu ebyo bye yasembayo kubanga ayogera biki bye yataawuluzaamu ko mulundi okusembayo biki ebyasigalawo era biki ebirabika nga bannayuganda bagenda mu maaso kubanga bamutaddeko olukongolo oba okumusaba abeere nga ayongera mu maaso kubanga ataawuluzaamu. Yasembayo okwogera eggwanga twalina cumulatively oba abantu abalwadde numbers zetwalina abalwadde baali 143 active cases ezaali mu ggwanga erya Uganda. Lubayo okwogera lwenkugambye ngenda kusoma ezo 22 omwezi guli oguwedde ogw'omukaaga. Agenda kuddwanga erya Uganda cumulatively oba active cases zetukyalina abalwadde abakyali malwaliro ag'enjawulo bali 114. Wabaddewo jjo okwanyisiganya bannayuganda badde beemulugunya bagaye cases tulina 172 ate tugamba abawonye bali 169 luli bali 71 nga abasibuddwa nga n'abalwadde abakyali mu maaso recoveries ne cases zali kyali malwaliro nga bagamba wabadde tuwona tutya nga tuli mu negative 2 naye ndowooza bakirambuludde bulungi ne bagamba nti lwakuba nti badde bongeddeko cases ez'enjawulo oba ati badde including the cases eziri foreign n'abantu ba refugees abanoonyiboobubudamu nga babagasse ku miwendo egyaffe nga ate buli nsi bateekeddwa okuba nga baddizibwayo ate buli nsi nebeera nga efa ku case ezaayo. So ezo tegambye nti kati baali 172 naye nga abasibuddwa bongedde okuba nga bawona muwendo guli 958 abalwadde abasibuddwa. So cumulatively abalwadde abakyali mu ggwanga oba malwaliro ag'enjawulo benkugambye be bali 114. President agenda kwogera ku nsonga nnyingi naye nga tutegeddeko nti ensonga ebadde esinga okuteeka bannayuganda ku bunkenke nga kwavaako ne munnaffe omuzi wa bodaboda okwekumako omuliro mu bitundu eby'e Masaka eyo. President balinako kye bakkaanyizaako. Cabinet oba olukiiko lwa baminisita lwatudde olunaku olwajjo ne boogera era baatuta akaseera akawera ate nga n'olwaliro bagenze mu maaso ne bongera okutuula ne balabika nti basalawo ensonga ez'enjawulo era bugenze otuuka akawungeezi nga minisita avunaanyizibwa ku nsonga z'entambula mu beezi n'ebyenguudo mukyala Joy Kafula Kabasi alina byategeeza paalamenti y'eggwanga oba ababaka ba paalamenti nti balina kye bakkaanyiza ku bannaffe abavuzi ba bodaboda era nga president agenda kujja ayongera okuttaanya ku ekyo. Baliko obukwakulizo obw'enjawulo kubanga buli president wabadde ajja okwogera eri eggwanga aba bodaboda babadde beebuza ffe twamukola ki tabaako kyatwogerako baateeka obuntu bwabwe ne bateekawo obulabirwamu bwe bassaawo ne bagamba bwawule omuvuzi ate n'omuntu omusaabaze era president yabalabawo ng'enjogera bwegamba bwe yadda yabaga nti basigale ku bifuluusi byabwe bo yabaga nti yali wakubata ng'eddagala erijjanjaba ekirwadde ekya COVID-19 limaze okuba nga lizuulwa ekintu ekyali ekiwanvu ennyo kibaga nti nga kigenda kubanyigiriza nnyo. N'amawulire amalungi eri ababodaboda kyaddaaki cabinet bategeeza nti ekkaanyiza ku nsonga zammwe naye muteereddwako obukwakulizo. President ajja kugenda maaso ndowooza alambule ku nsonga eyo kubanga minisita abadde mu cabinet era ekyo yo akitegeeza ababaka parliament. Mujjukira nti omukyala Rebecca alitwala Kadaga speaker wa parliament naye azze ateeka akasito ku ggwanga ne baminisita bakikwatibwako ne gavumenti otwaliza teberenga eyimbula abantu bagamba nti ekintu kino baali bakifudde politically motivated than a health concern nga yaga nti ababodaboda abadde afuna petition zaabwe oba okwemulugunya okuwerako nga nti badde bamutuukirira gyali nga bagamba baberenga bateebwa ebifuluusi oba emigugu badde bagivuze nga bagikooye bagamba badde baagala okuddamu okusaabaza abantu. Tutegeddeko nti babataddeko obukwakulizo wa bodaboda okutemera bakutonotono president anaabagenda mu maaso okulambulula babagaye mulina okubanga mulina permit eya A class okulabeka nga musaabaza abantu olina okubanga olina sanitizer oba amazzi agagenda okuba ganaaza omusaabaze ate nga strictly babategeeza nti mulina okubanga musabaza omuntu omu naye ebyo si byaffe kubanga tubirangira president ajja kujja agende maaso alambike naye byetutegeddeko kubanga ne badde public information kibadde mawulire nga minister ategeeza parliament y'eggwanga oba ababaka ku ekyo kikanyiziddwako ku nsonga ey'ababodaboda mulina okubanga musabaza omusaabaza omu ng'era mulina okutambulira mu ssaawa ezo ezibadde zitambulirwako okuva ku ssaawa 12 ssaawa emu ey'okumakya paka ssaawa 11 ezakawungeezi mbadde mutambuliramu ze mugenda okusigaliramu naye nga bakkiriziddwa kubanga musaabaza abasaabaze okwawukanako ne bwe kibadde timbadde musaabaza migugu gyokka okw'emulugunya kwammwe kulabikanga kwatuuse eri abakulu ne baako ennambika gye balambisa ensonga endala egenda okubanga etunulwamu nnyo olunaku olwaleero y'ensonga ey'abannaffe abakeedi mwajjukira akeedi ezo zaaleta akanyamage kaali kamaanyi omulundi ogwasembayo president yagamba nti banaffe ba National Task Force abakulu abakwatibwako ministry y'ebyobusuubuzi ne ministry y'ebyobulamu yali agiwadde omulimu okwatagana ne bannanyini akeedi ezo oba bannanyini bizimbe nabo okugenda mu maaso okukola sampling ezenjawulo baali baguddewo bbiri ezaali zigenda okukola nga samples ate abali okulabirako okutereeza akeedi zonna mu Kampala zaali 83 ne bakkirizaako akeedi 48 zalina okubanga zitandika olunaku olwokutaano naye tekyasoboka mujjukira nti minisita Mary akyambadde minisita w'ebyobusuubuzi yagenda maaso n'ategeeza bwe yali asinkanye ate abasuubuzi bano n'abagamba president teyafuna budde genda maaso kubanga akkiriza akeedi zino okutandika okubanga zikakkalabya emirimu n'abeetondera n'abagamba nti mumusonyiwe ate yali tayinza kuddamu kwetema oba kukakasa ggwanga nti akeedi zalina okubanga zigulibwawo ku lunaku bweruti oba bweruti olwokubanga yali afunye disappointment eyo ng'abasuubuzi n'abakolera mu zaakeedi zino bamutaddeko akazito bagenda tugulira lwakutaano olwokutaano lwatuuka temwatugulira kiki ekiddako tusuubira nti president nazo agenda kubaako balina okukanya kwe batuuseeko ku akeedi ezo 48 ate 35 ezaali zikyabulayo mu Kampala okutwaliza wamu okwongera okwetereza wadde ate nga nabo bakyalina ebizibu byabwe n'ensonga ez'enjawulo wakati w'abannannyini akeedi zino ate n'abasuubuzi abakoleramu bagamba bagenda sasula batya naye ngeri abagagga abamu bakkiriza okuba nti basaliddeko emyezi egimu abamu basazeeko emyezi 2 bagabagaba n'emyezi 2 emyezi 2 abasuubuzi bagisigaze balabike nga batambuza emaali yaabwe n'emirimu ebibadde gigenda mu maaso okubanga gitambuzibwa mu akeedi zino obukwakoliza obulala bwateekebwa ku akeedi zino ye basement bye bigundi wansi ddala ebizimbe wansi wa akeedi zino babagamba temuzzaayo maduuka babagamba eyebere parking na mastowa ag'ebintu ebyenjawulo kati abantu baali bangi abaali batadde amaduuka wansi wa basement eyo nga bagamba nti kizibu ekiyinza okubeera eyo ate teri lighting emala teri ne aeration emala empewo tetambula bulungi mu basement eyo ne babagamba nti musigale nga basement ezo muzitaddemu kuba nti zitambuzibwamu kuba ziserekebwamu just byamaguzi na parking nansonga nnyingi president agenda okubanga atunuulira nga bwe nkujjukiza nti bwe yalisembayo okubanga ayogera ennaku z'omwezi ezo nga 22 gwe mwezi kati mulamba yagera ku nsonga y'abannaffe aba entambula ey'olukale n'entambula ey'obwannannyini naddala mu districts 40 ezaalimu akanyamberi k'ekirwadde ekya COVID-19 n'abakozi alambulula naga nti zino twekkaanyiza nagamba zino sigale nga zitambuzibwamu abantu okwawukanako n'omulundi ogwali gusembyeyo lwe yali asembyeyo ate okubanga ayogera guno genda kubeera mulundi gwa 19 okuvira ddala ekirwadde kino ekyakwata eggwanga erya Uganda oba lwe twagenda mu ggalo ng'ennaku z'omwezi 18 omwezi ogwokusatu omwaka guno ogwa 2020 so azaayogera emirundi egy'enjawulo ng'olwera agenda kubanga ayogera omulundi ogw'19 ogenda maaso okubanga alambika n'okulabika nti atangaza eri eggwanga ki ekigenda okubanga kiddako oluvannyuma lwabyo byonna ebyabaawo cases tuzina mu ggwanga erya Uganda naye nga recoveries nga bwe gambye zeeyongedde tukonokkiriza abantu 1000 abakasiibulwa mu malwaliro ag'enjawulo malwaliro gali 15 agenda maaso kubanga gajjanjaba abalwadde aba COVID-19 tunafiirwayo muntu n'omu ago nago mawulire malungi nnyo mu ggwanga erya Uganda ensi ezisinga obungi bwetunula eggwanga erya Brazil otunula Spain otunula Italy tunula eggwanga erya America ate abo bo ekirwadde kibayisizza bubi nnyo nga ne president wa Brazil gye bavuddeko naye yazuulwamu ekirwadde kino ekya COVID-19 musajja mukulu Bolsonaro yagenda maaso nkulabika nti yafuna obujjanjabi bano bavaayo ne baleka nti bo obulamu obwabwe oba enkwata ekirwadde ekya COVID-19 baleka nga bakisaagiramu nga balowooza ssenyiga wa bulijjo naye ate nekimukwata twalaba munnaffe Trump naye ensonga yazikwatanga zakubalaata n'agaana okwambala mask naye gye buvuddeko ate awo ebintu byatabuka naye netumulengera mu public oba bwe yali atambula mu lukuŋŋaana olw'enjawulo ng'agenze mu bantu abangi n'atandikira ddala okuba nti ayambala mask ate nga si oli yali agenda maaso kubanga akubiriza abantu abenjawulo masaza agenjawulo okwekalakasa baberenga bagulawo ebintu batatambula bulungi ate ne baddayo mu ggalo okwala kandi agenda maaso kubanga kunyiga si yabwe eggwanga erya tususe ennaku 10 ez'omuggalo tulinga mu 10 kati nga mu almost 10 nga mu 18 awo zetwakatambulira mu ggalo guno ogwa COVID-19 naye nga ebintu byebadde tebitambudde bubi nnyo abannayuganda mwongere okubanga musabira eggwanga erya Uganda tulabikanga tulina otutuuse President ebintu ebyasembayo oba byetusuubira okuba nti attaanyako olunaku lwaliro y'ensonga ey'aba LDU tukimanyi bulungi nti waliwo amawulire agakubagana baga nti babajja mu operations ezenjawulo ezigenda maaso okuba nti zikwasa ebiragiro bya COVID-19 ate abamu bakyabalengerayo balala bakyagenda maaso kuba ensonga ya curfew bakyagikwasa amateeka n'okulabika nti bakwata abantu naye President mujjukira ebbaluwa gye yasembayo kubanga awandiika yagamba nti twaddamu okwogera agenda kwongera okutunuulira ensonga eya LDU n'ennambika ekikulu mu LDU kyayagala okubanga tunulamu y'ensonga y'eddembe ly'obuntu tutegeddeko nti oba twakakasiddwa nti eri abamu abagiddwayoko ate ne baddizibwayo wali ekakiri okugenda maaso okubanga bongera okubatendekamu naddala mu nsonga y'okukwata abantu n'eddembe ly'obuntu y'ensonga eyo nayo tusuubira nti President ajja girambikako mujjuka nti bbaluwa era yayogera ne ku nsonga ya Kirunda n'abafu abantu abaali bafudde mu biseera ebya COVID bagamba yali tannabafuna budde naddala ensonga ya Major General Mugenzi Kasirye Gwanga naye yamwogerako mu kuwandika kwe yasembayo ng'agenda maaso kubanga aweereza obubaka obwenja twamulengeddeko ate omunaffe Kironde yatambuddeko n'ayambukako eyo waggulu okulabika nti alambula amakaago abamutambuza mu byobufuzi ebyenjawulo naye nga lunaku olwaliro akanyamberege kakyali kwe kulabika nti amasinzizo gakyali maggale eyebadde ensonga y'amaanyi era okusinziira ku nsonda zetubadde tubuuzaako ebigenze maaso baminisita z'abenjawulo baga nti eyebaddeko akagulumbo k'amaanyi era ebikkaanyiziddwako tetuyinza byogera President agenda kujja ye abyeyogerere naye nga gagenda kuggulawo tegagenda kuggulawo baminisita batukakasizza biki bibakkaanyizaako ku nsonga ey'amasinzizo kubanga tujjukira nti abantu ate bakifuna na political abali ne bafuuka ba activists abagenda maaso okuba nti bassa ku President akazito ne bawana ennaku 13 berenga ogudde amasinzo naye President agenda kubanga ajja alambike byonna bekkanyiziddwako bibadde bingiko naye nga ensonga ey'amasinzo yo bagituddeko akabanga kubanga tiyawedde olunaku olwajjo cabinet bwe yatudde yabadde mu ddiiro nnyo nga baagala okulabika nti bannaffe bannasscience babirina kye bamugambye baga nti bayimbadde wakiri bataako mpolampola nga bwe kyali e Kenya munnaffe Uhuru Kenyatta bwe yagenda maaso n'ata amasinzizo e Kenya n'agamba nti abali wakasi w'emyaka 13 temugenda mu masinzizo zino temugenda masinzo oba darasa eri abaisiramu tebabanga abaana ali wansi w'emyaka 13 talina kugenda kusinza ate n'oyo asusa emyaka 58 netakirizibwa kubanga agenda musinzizo lyonna ate nga strictly balina okubanga balayo essaawa emu balina okuyingira nga bali 10 bokka ate nga okusinza kwonna kulina okutwala essaawa emu yokka President babimulitiddemu naga nti ati uli abo bayinza okubaako bibakkaanya naye nga mu ggwanga erya Uganda amasinzo gugabadde gakyali ku muggalo n'olunaku lwa President tumusuubira ajja kubaako ennambika ey'enjawulo naye nga tukitegeddeko nti ensonga eyo yabadde ya bbugumu nnyo eri cabinet oba baminisita ab'enjawulo abakwatibwako kubanga nakyo kyasigala omulundi ogwasembayo yagamba nti ebitongole ebitwala ensinzi ez'enjawulo oba enzikiriza nayo bigende maaso byogerezeganye ne task force eno oba abakwatibwako bannasscience then bamutwalire alipoota enzijuvu then asinziire okwekyo kye banaba bazudde alabe nga asalawo ekyenkomeredde oba amasinzizo gano gaggulwawo oba gasigala nga agakyali magale kubanga ye yali asazeewo naga nti amasinzizo galina okuba gagenda ku ebintu ebinaasembereyo ddala ebimu ku binaasembayo kubanga biggulwa omwali airport omwali amasomero naga nti n'abo ab'amasinzizo n'ensinza zonna zali zisindikiddwa ku mutendera ogwo ogusembayo tusuubira ajja kubaako kyalambika nakyo olunaku olwaliro ku nsonga eyo then bannaffe abatunda engoye ab'obutale abomubuulo mujjukira nti luyagamba nti oyinza okutambula nojja wano bagulanga entembu bo ne batambula naye kikyali kizibu nakyo aga nti agule nti ayinza okuva e Kampala ng'ate nti gyagenda ogigula eringa mu bitundu ebyeri ebisembabule n'agamba abo nabo baali bakyaliko obuzibu ab'obutale ab'omubuulo abo kubanga nabo baasibirwa mu kategore y'emu eyo ey'abantu abangi oba ebifo ekuŋŋaanya abantu abangi nabo n'abaga nti baali bakyalina akakwakulizaako naga nti obulwadde butambula nnyo bote butambula naye ngate abantu ebagenda maaso okubanga babutaza njogedde kwa nafa abaked botusubira nti 48 waliwo okukanyizibwako oba enzikiriza gye batuuseeko tumulengera mukyala minister and Amelia Kyambadde yo yogolengira ali maaso yebadde nnyo mu nteekateeka eno okulabika nti asinkana abasuubuzi ate ne bannannyini bizimbe okugenda maaso okwogerezeganya ensonga ez'enjawulo ezikwata ku nteekateeka yaabwe n'engeri gye bayinza okubanga baggulwawo wabaddewo bingi ebyogera ku bakedi abamu bevedinga emisolo bagamba nti bakumpanya emisolo bagamba nti naate ne bagamba nti waakiri bandibadde baggulawo tumanya nti ono yakumpanya nono yakumpanya then ne balaba engeri gye bayinza okubanga batandika olaba bakwatamu okulabika nti abatasasula musolo babakoleko ne bo babadde balina okwemulugunya okwabwe nga bagamba nti toyinza kuggala ate kitegeeza ate eyagenda maaso n'abeera compliant obanga asasula bulungi omusolo bw'obanga ate omusibidde wamu nono abadde tasasula then wabeerawo okunyigiriza okwenjawulo naye ate baga nti waliwo n'ebyokulya enguzi baga nti waliwo ate ababayitamu abaali abayaaye ne baga nti mpaka sente nkuteeke ku lisiti egenda okubanga eggulawo ate bano bagenda okutuuka mu wakedi zaabwe oba ebifo byabwe ate nga bagamba baali tanna bakulabika nti batuukiriza enteekateeka eyo kuteekamu enguudo ez'enjawulo oba amakuba agayinza okubanga gatambuza abantu kubanga waliwo akazibu kaali k'amaanyi okulabika nti bawula arcade ne mall awo nawo ne wajjawo enteekateeka bagamba arcade erina emiryango mingi buli omu ayingiranga bw'ayagala tusobola kulabika nti edduuka limu libeeramu abantu bangi ne bagamba nawo waliwo embeera enzibu ennyo naye babasaako obukwakulizo ne bagamba nti balina okubanga bassaawo ebifo ebinaabirwamu balina okubanga obuyonjo bweyongerako naye bakakasiza nti ezo 48 zenkugambye zo zaatuukiriza era ne batiikinga gye baatuukanga kino wakituukiriza nga batiikinga kino ne bawa maxi ne bagamba nti ezo 48 tusuubira nti olunaku olwaliro president bamuwadde alipoota eyo entongole ekakasa nti ezo 48 zo zaatuukiriza ebisaanyizo byonna era netegefu okubanga zitandika okuddamu okukakalabya emirimu zaazo oba emirimu emitongole ensonga endala egenze maaso okubanga egulumbya bannayuganda oba embeera ebadde enzibu ennyo y'ensonga y'amasomero tusubira president nakyagenda kubanga akitunulamu olunaku olwaleero amasomero bagateekako obukwakulizo standard operating procedures zaali nzibu nnyo eri amasomero kubanga ministry bwe yaliyo ewa enambika yaayo baali baagala kubanga okusookera ddala president yagamba nti waakiri candidate classes oba abaana abali ku misomo egy'akamalirizo bo bakkirizibwa okuba nti baddamu okutambulika balina okubanga batandika ennaku z'omwezi 4 omwezi guli ogw'omukaaga naye tekyasoboka ate mu nnambika eno bo baali baga nti baagala abaana bonna siba candidate classes bokka okuddamu okuba nti basoma naye bonna baddemu basome ne bassaawo obukwakulizo bwali buzibu nnyo nga baagala nti abaana aba primary buli kibiina kibeeremu abaana 10 bene bagamba amasomero aga secondary buli kibiina kibeeremu abaana 15 eno secondary nga egenderako ddala ne bannaffe aba tertiary institutions oba high institutions of learning babeere 15 buli class twafuna okwemulugunya kwali kw'amaanyi ng'abasomesa aba gavumenti n'abasomesa aba private beegatta ne bagamba nti obukwakulizo buno obwabateekebwako bwali impractical nga batebusoboka naye tulengera president saa yonna wuyo ayingira ate agenda kubanga alambika agenda kutandika okutunula mu nsonga zino zitwogeddeko ajja kwogerako ebifo ebyokusinza bigenda kubeera bitya ate bannaffe abaakedi bagenda kubeera batya naye nga amasomero go obukwakulizo bwagateekebwako nga bwenkugambye bwali buzibu nnyo era tusuubira nti ayinza okutabaako kyamaanyi kyalambulula ku ekyo oba okubaako ennambulula gy'ataamu amasomero gano abaana 15 n'abaana 10 mu kibiina baga nti kyali kisoboka kubanga omwana singa ate abeera azuuliddwamu ekirwadde babagamba essomero liggalawo okumala ennaku 21 abasomesa ne bagamba nti kitegeeza ebizimbe bye balina byali bitono nnyo nga bateekeddwa kuzimba ate ebizimbe bipya mu kaseera kano akatono nnyo naye bangi ebizimbe bireka bigenze ate balina ziloni zebaali beewoze kakati baga nti oba kiganye kyonna kyonna then tutunulira ate omwaka okulabika nti gonna gufa oba okudekalainga dead year nga bannaffe e Kenya bwe bagenda maaso ne baga nti omwaka ogw'ebyenjigiriza oba ogw'ebyensoma gwonna gwali gufudde ne baga nti gwonna gufudde kyebayita dead year nga balina kubanga batandika omwaka ogujja president amaze okubanga atuuka era akadde konna agenda kuba atandika tutunulira personal gondiwe Kenneth Omona amaze okubanga amuwa ebiwandiiko byagenda okubanga atunulamu then alabe tugenda kwegatta ku president akadde konna kubanga atandika okulungamya eri eggwanga ensonga ez'enjawulo ndowooza katwegatte ku president ate wuyo tumulengera atandise okubanga abuuza kuba minisita ab'enjawulo tulengera minisita w'ebyenjigiriza omukyala Janet Kataka Museveni era mukuba mukulembeze w'eggwanga waliwo omukyala minisita General Sachenge naye abadde n'ensonga ze nnyingi nnyo sabbiiti eyo ewedde oluvannyuma lw'ebyamutuukako mu bitundu ebyerira tulengera omukyala Mary Karolo Okulut woli na wali naye ali ku minister akola general duties mu office ya saba minister ate ne uyo president atandise katwegate ku president then tuberenga tuwuliriza ensonga zino tujja kudda oluvannyuma ko twongere okutunulira byanaba ayogedde eri eggwanga.
I have come again to talk to you about our struggle with the virus, and I think you should allow me to put off the mask because I may talk for a long time. Before I speak, I want the television to show you what's happening in other parts of the world, and then I can add on my comments. The television show you the other parts of the world, and then I can add on my comments.
Instead, her loved ones looked on from a distance, too fearful to approach the grave.
People are so afraid of this virus, and one would say people are discriminating their own.
The virus has taken hold in the city of Port Elizabeth, and there are hundreds of bodies to bury. Like mother of four, Joyce Money, who died in an overcrowded hospital. No one sang or prayed. Instead, her loved ones looked on from a distance, too fearful to approach the grave.
People are so afraid of this virus, and one would say people are discriminating their own. When you pay the last respect, you throw a piece of soil to say a goodbye to the person. With this pandemic, nothing of the sort happens. It's very sad.
Some thought South Africa had avoided the worst, but the pandemic has taken root, and the country's poorly managed health system has begun to buckle. At Motherwell Hospital, residents started queuing at 2 a.m. for COVID tests or medication, and many residents were clearly desperate. Are you worried about COVID?
I'm worried, man. I'm worried very much, but I can't help it. But people, they are fasting, they are close to each other. I'm very worried.
This is terrible. Sick people are getting sicker. Some are dying on their legs, you know. It's hurting. It's hurting really. You just wonder, what's our people doing about this?
The authorities had months to plan, but the pandemic seems to have taken them by surprise. When protective suits ran out at one hospital, nurses were given raincoats instead, and there are some who have had to make their own. Every health worker we spoke to talked of a terrible shortage of staff. This nurse did not want to be identified.
How many are missing at the moment?
You can say plus minus 30 nurses, but last week one from casualty tested positive and 2 tested positive in ICU. It keeps rising and rising and rising.
He works at a designated COVID treatment facility called Livingston Hospital, and it appears to be falling apart. Medical waste spills out of storerooms and filthy beds clutter the corridors. And the washing machines are broken, so they can't clean the sheets. These pictures were sent to us by staff members.
Tell me about the cleanliness of the hospital.
Oh, I wish you could just go there and see it. It's dirty, dirty, dirty there.
It's dirty.
The medical waste, you find it on the floor, and there are piles of linen with feces and flies.
There are other things to worry about at Livingston Hospital, like the lack of beds in intensive care. Dedicated doctors are forced to select a small number for treatment.
It's heartbreaking in the sense that you end up yourself and your team having to say no to somebody's mother, somebody's grandmother, somebody's father, somebody's uncle.
Do you have a rough idea of how many referrals get rejected?
We will accept round about maybe some 25% of the referrals.
25%?
So, yeah, so maybe the other 75% is unfortunately not going to...
You can't treat?
We're not going to get a bed.
The provincial government has been given a supersized field hospital, and opposition parliamentarian Jane Cowley took us to see it.
In 7 weeks.
This one-time car factory boasts 1,400 hospital beds, the German government paying for the refit. But there are only a handful of patients inside.
So the recruitment process is already in process.
The government doesn't have the people to run this facility, and they've only just started to recruit them. So I asked how long it was going to take.
Let's hope that they do get those staff in place within the next week to 10 days.
Realistic?
No, not realistically. Hopefully, but not realistically. Yeah.
The Premier of this province admits the health system is overwhelmed, and he's called on military personnel to assist. But the people of the region are scared, and there is little confidence in those who have been appointed to protect them. John Sparks, Sky News, Port Elizabeth.
I think we also need to remember that South Africa got its first cases quite early, and it's in a later stage of development of this pandemic. And the disease, when it came into South Africa first, tended to come into, at the beginning, into wealthier areas, and now has become very much established in poorer areas and townships and rural areas. So therefore, South Africa is experiencing that acceleration. But it's not accelerating any faster than many other countries in Eastern and Southern Africa, all over Africa. In fact, the South Africa numbers may be large, but they've only increased about 30% in the last week. But if you look around the region, in the same time, although the numbers are smaller, Kenya's increased 31%, Ethiopia 26%, Madagascar 50%, Zambia 57%, Eswatini 32%, Zimbabwe 51%, Namibia 69%, and Botswana 66%. And even though the numbers in those other countries are smaller, I think what we're starting to see is a continued acceleration of transmission in a number of countries in sub-Saharan Africa. And I think that has to be taken very, very seriously. South Africa may unfortunately be a precursor. It may be a warning for what will happen in the rest of Africa. So I think this isn't just a wake-up call for South Africa. This really is, we need to take what is happening in Africa very, very seriously. Many of those countries exist in the midst of fragility and conflict. Many of them need external help and support. But what they need is much more support to community-based interventions and much more support to improving clinical pathways so people who are sick get adequate care. And as Sose has said previously, much more support to public health surveillance and being able to put in place the necessary early warning. So while South Africa is experiencing a very, very severe event, I think it is really a marker of what the continent could face if urgent action is not taken to provide further support. So I think, and we've seen this in other regions, sometimes this disease can take off very quickly, and sometimes in other situations it takes off more slowly and then accelerates. And it's difficult to understand fully why that is the case. But But I'm very concerned right now that we're beginning to see an acceleration of disease in Africa, and we all need to take that very seriously and show solidarity and support to those countries who may now be experiencing increasing numbers of cases and deaths.
The awful reality of coronavirus. A tube's being inserted down his nose to relieve air and fluid in his abdomen. The medical team's facing multiple challenges every day, and now in Texas, a surge in infections, which many believe is the cost of lifting lockdown early. Coronavirus kills you, he tells us. For Elias Rubio, even survival feels like death.
So let's go in.
This hospital in Houston has set up isolation pods with negative air pressure to seal off the contamination. The number of cases in Texas has nearly tripled in 2 weeks, and they're expected to soar again after Independence Day celebrations, with the doctors frantic about how they'll cope.
Because I don't have enough beds for you. Let's just put it that way, okay? I don't have enough beds, and you will die. I mean, it's simple as that. There is no more Mr. Nice Guy, no more please don't do that. If you go out this 4th of July to mass gathering, you have the potential of dying yourself or killing somebody else.
And it only takes meeting one infected person to catch it.
I isolated myself from everybody except one family, the family across the street.
And he got infected. He's now bitterly critical of the Texas governor for ending the stay-at-home order.
When you're staying at home and you're isolated, there's better management. But our governor went along with the president, so we got screwed.
Every health worker has a photograph of themselves around their neck to help connect with patients, and every movement between wards requires derobing and disposing of the old clothing. There's no shortage of protective equipment here.
Which patient is Trevino? So let's talk about Trevino. Who has Trevino?
Their rigorous hygiene control is part of a battle ethos against the virus.
It's starting to get more. That's classic. That's classic COVID.
With the chief medic determined he won't be beaten by it.
We're fighting two wars. War number one is the COVID virus. War number two is stupidity. Because there are some people out there that just really, I don't know how they're still alive.
The infections in Texas have spiked, but the mortality rate's much lower, and the medics are trying everything. They've devised one treatment here by mixing steroids, vitamins and anticoagulants, and they're getting results. This is the cocktail of drugs which the doctors at this hospital have been giving their coronavirus patients, and which they say is responsible for an astonishing 96% success rate. It costs just $100 a day, and they believe it's going to turn the corner in this fight against the deadly virus. They're going to need it to work, with record numbers of infections daily in Texas, and grim warnings to other countries not to make the same mistakes as them.
But a lot of people are going to die being ignorant, and ignorance is never a defense. So they're going to die. And they're going to be made the example for the rest of the country. And Britain, England, Africa, wherever, if they don't take this serious, they're going to die, point blank. And they're going to get sick, and it's going to be bad.
But even knowing the risks is no absolute guarantee. Tana Ingraham was a nurse in this ICU a week ago, but was infected by a patient and is now under the care of her colleagues.
It's sad because these patients, when they come in, if you don't hug your family member like right then, who's to say you're going to be able to hug them again? We don't know, and to me that's probably one of the hardest things.
The doctors here have opened a new wing for more coronavirus patients, and the next few weeks are going to be critical. Alex Crawford, Sky News in Houston, Texas.
President Bolsonaro of Brazil has become the latest world leader to test positive for coronavirus. Brazil now has the second highest number of cases and deaths in the world after the USA. Mr. Bolsonaro has been repeatedly dismissive of the threat posed by the virus and has said that lockdowns have a more damaging effect than the pandemic itself.
Brazil's graveyards are testament to the country's crisis. Every day, more tombs are filled. Every burial, another number in the country's shocking statistics. Tens of thousands of people are falling ill every day. Numbers that Jair Bolsonaro has often dismissed. But now he is one of them. The president went on television to announce the test results, for once wearing a mask, but leaving very little distance between him and journalists as he shared his experience of the virus.
It started on Sunday with a certain feeling of unwell that worsened during the day on Monday with malaise, tiredness, a bit of muscle pain and a fever that reached 38 degrees. I did a scan at the Armed Forces Hospital here and my lungs were clear.
As he bid farewell, the mask came off. Not even COVID-19 will make him change his ways. Jair Bolsonaro is a man who thrives on controversy, meeting supporters and rubbishing global health guidelines from the very beginning. He fired 2 health ministers because he disagreed with their medical advice, which followed that of the World Health Organization. Today, the health body sent best wishes for a speedy recovery.
We're all potentially exposed to this virus. The virus doesn't really know who we are, whether we're prince or pauper. We're equally vulnerable, and I think what it really highlights is our collective vulnerability to this disease.
And Brazil is more vulnerable than most. The death toll is soaring, but shops, bars and restaurants are reopening. It's what Jair Bolsonaro has wanted from the very start, the economy back up and running. For so long, Jair Bolsonaro has tried to brush off this virus. The irony that he has now caught it has not been missed in Brazil today.
I think he's going to get better. He has the best doctors and the best hospitals. I hope he's well.
Bolsonaro spoke of not catching it, and he caught it. It's not just a little flu, like he was talking about.
This was the 4th test Jair Bolsonaro had taken for COVID-19. He had a scare early on in the crisis when he paid a visit to Donald Trump, and several members of his presidential team fell ill. The US president took a test shortly afterwards. The 2 men have much in common, playing down the virus and leading countries that are now suffering the most. Brazil, most famous for its beaches, is becoming infamous for these much darker times. Katie Watson, BBC News in Sao Paulo.
Well, as Katie was saying there, President Bolsonaro has been dismissive very often of the threat posed by coronavirus in the past. But his country, Brazil and South America, indeed, are now among some of the worst affected parts of the planet. Our science editor, David Schuckman, examines what's gone on there.
A desperate scene in a graveyard in Bolivia. A charity uses a digger to bury the dead because too many people are dying for the authorities to cope. The family of a victim watches on from a safe distance. In Peru, there are long queues to get medical help. The country has one of the highest numbers of cases anywhere in the world, and it's among the least able to handle them. This woman worries that so many are sick, they're having to wait outside the hospital. It's very scary, she says. Health experts are now becoming seriously alarmed about what's happening in Latin America. Of the countries with the largest number of cases, 4 are in Latin America. Brazil is number 2 after the United States. And bear in mind that these are going to be massive underestimates of the true scale, because in so many regions there's very little testing going on. There's a similar pattern with the death toll. Of the countries with the largest losses, 3 are in Latin America, and all the signs are that things are going in the wrong direction. One reason is overcrowding in the favelas, the slums, where social distancing isn't possible, adding to a worsening global picture.
There have now been 11.4 million cases of COVID-19 and more than 535,000 lives have been lost. The outbreak is accelerating. And we have clearly not reached the peak of the pandemic.
And politics is key. The Brazilian president wants growth and freedom, not lockdowns and masks. Another factor in an escalating crisis. David Truckman, BBC News.
Iranians had thought they were past the peak of the virus, but the new total of 200 dead within 24 hours has prompted the Health Ministry to issue a new warning.
Unfortunately, many people didn't listen to me. They didn't take demands of mine and my colleagues seriously. We are facing a new wave now.
It's been 4 months since the virus hit, and it's been responsible for the deaths of nearly 12,000 people so far. The government's blaming the resurgence on guidelines being broken.
I ask our dear people to take masks and coronavirus seriously. Masks and social distancing can prevent the disease by 80%. Now that we are paying such a huge price, people have to take my advice seriously. At the time, my colleagues and I were insisting people pay attention. Many people didn't believe us.
Hospital admissions are also up, including in Tehran, Iran's most populated city and financial centre. Some patients have been receiving oxygen in a hospital car park, the wards inside apparently full to capacity. The government has made face masks mandatory, although there's no penalty for not wearing one. And some provinces have reinstated lockdown measures, but the blame, at least from the Health Ministry, is on the failure to observe guidelines on social distancing and mass gatherings.
I'm in the hospital for about 2 weeks. I didn't abide by corona-related rules. We went to a wedding and 12 members of our family contracted corona. We didn't socially distance. There were many people in the party together. For God's sake, keep socially distancing, wear masks, and observe your personal hygiene.
Since I voted in February, I didn't leave home because I suffer from asthma. For 30 years I've had asthma. I didn't go out, but my family did. They didn't observe protocols, and yet I got infected.
I had a CT scan and they said it was coronavirus. You have to be hospitalized. I'm begging people to not go out.
The government is also under scrutiny for easing the lockdown early, despite warnings from the Health Ministry.
With the economy struggling, the government faces tough decisions. Reimpose lockdowns and try to stop the spread of the virus and excess deaths, or hope that people will take heed and abide by the rules, something that hasn't worked so far. Asad Beg, Al Jazeera, Tehran.
The global pandemic has grounded a recently soaring airline industry, leaving planes idle in a chain of parking lots stretched around the globe.
This is worse than anything we have seen, not only in the recent past, but probably in the past 60, 70 years. It's worse than the financial recession. It's worse than 9/11.
Airlines have canceled thousands of flights. Etihad, Emirates, and more than 50 airlines have stopped flying at all, disinfecting those still in service as airports and flights sit largely empty. Across the U.S., those airline woes have hit home, shutting down airport control towers after workers fell ill at Chicago's Midway International Airport and nearly a dozen others.
Analysts say airlines learned valuable lessons from the 2008 financial crash, but they say an even leaner industry will emerge after the global pandemic is gone.
On Monday, the U.S. Senate approved what some analysts are calling the mother of all bailouts for U.S.-based airlines, with $88 billion in aid for aviation. That includes loans for aircraft maker Boeing, spiraling since its new 737 MAX was grounded after 2 deadly crashes. In a rare bit of good news for consumers, airlines are already offering more competitive pricing.
I think there's going to be a pricing dogfight for the customer.
In another, Lufthansa is blocking all middle seats from Germany. With passenger loads down, analysts say many airlines will likely shelve the Airbus A380, the world's largest passenger airliner.
Obviously, we've got an overcapacity situation with the pandemic, and we will for a couple of years until the system rights itself. And this gives an opportunity for airlines to get rid of their least economical equipment, and the A380 is exactly that.
Well, on the 18th of March, 2020, I told you that we had a new problem in the form of the virus. When you have a disease like this one, there are only 4 ways you can deal with it. Number one is to have a vaccine which can stop the virus.
No one sang or prayed.
Number two,
Instead,
treatment.
From a distance.
A medicine that can kill the virus.
I'm so afraid of this virus. And
three,
would say people are discriminating.
if you don't have the other two,
When you not train,
then you use avoiding.
a piece of salt
You avoid.
to say a goodbye to the person. With this,
And four, fortunately for this disease,
it's very sad.
we can help the body to fight the virus.
South Africa had avoided the worst, but the pandemic
Therefore, these are only
country's poorly managed
4 ways of how to deal with the disease.
at Motherwell Hospital.
Okugema,
Started queuing.
okuvumura, bakita kuvumura, to treat. To treat is called what in Uganda? Okujanjaba. Okwewala n'okuyamba omubiri okusobola okwerwanako. There are only 4 ways. Now, when the virus descended on us, we discussed among ourselves, we compared notes with the whole world, and we found that we had only two ways for now. And that was to avoid, and fortunately, unlike AIDS, to help the body fight the virus. Now, how did we advise you to avoid? Number one, we said put on masks. Because fortunately, when you put in a mask, even if you have the virus, it doesn't go far. It is blocked. If you come too near, it may get you, but if you are at a distance, it will not get you, because the mask will block the droplets on which it rides. Secondly, keep social distance. Don't say, don't be near, let's not be near. Otampika. Thirdly, don't touch your eyes, don't touch your nose, don't touch your mouth with unclean hands. Because those are the only 3 entry points to the body. In fact, this disease is a bit easier to deal with than some of the other diseases. And then fourthly, clean the surfaces, because it can remain on the surfaces, the tables and so on. So this is how we advised you to avoid the disease. Now, by avoiding the disease, the few who get infected were able, or who got infected in the case of Uganda, were able to be assisted to fight the virus, because there were few. There were not many. Since we started, it's almost 4 months now. We have had only a total of 1,000 and I think 60. I will give the figure later. Only those. And of course, and we've got so many hospital beds which are not used. You saw in the films here, many parts in the world don't have beds. All the beds are full. These people are speaking in English because you like to speak English. So there you are. If they were speaking in Nyankore, I would be worried that you didn't understand. But they were speaking in your language. So they were saying clearly that in many parts of the world there are so many sick people that the beds are not there. That's what they were saying in your language, English language. Because of the firm steps we took, that's why we ended up with smaller numbers, much less than the beds, and because of that, we're able to, our health workers, we're able to work on them, and they have recovered. I will give you the figures later. Now, because of that, I want to congratulate you, the Ugandans, because you listened to our message, you listened to it, and because of that, 250,000 people, 250,029 have been tested, and out of those, only 1,072 by yesterday, 20th, had proved positive. Only 1,072. And because the cases were few, our health workers who have sacrificed so much, those health workers have stayed in the hospital without going home for now 4 months. People don't see their family, they are there in the health workers, because I check on them. They don't go home. Because they need to be very, 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 very alert, because any slight mistake, he himself can be infected. So unfair, the carelessness of the public and those who push the public to be careless are really enemies of the people of the world. You are first and foremost enemy of the health workers. You can imagine health workers just risk their life. The man is healthy, he has got a feeling, but he has got to look after people who are careless. And he can lose his own life because of that. And they get so much strain because of having to take so many precautions. Put on this, put on this, put on this. It's very, very, very dangerous. I know this because we used to use bombs. With bombs, you make a mistake once in your life, you will never have a chance to make a second one. You will die. This is the same with some of these epidemics. We lost Dr. Rukia in the north from Ebola. So when we are begging people, please be careful. We are not only begging you to be careful for the sake of your own life, but for the sake of others who are innocent. Doctors were trained to deal with the normal cases, giving birth, treating malaria. Now when you have got something so dangerous, it is really the duty of everybody. When I see people who are playing around, I really don't get amused. I don't have a good opinion of such people. Because you are not only endangering yourself, you are endangering others. So out of this 1,072 who became positive, 958 have been healed and have been discharged. The ones still in medical care are 114 as of yesterday. I therefore, and we also had foreigners who are coming here who were positive, especially the drivers, 1,369. But these were returned to their countries. But there are some who were treated here and they recovered, and these were 137. And we have had no death, not a single death. I therefore congratulate you, the people of Uganda. This is a remarkable achievement for which I'm very happy. Praise be the Lord God, and congratulations to Ugandans for fighting this war. In the fight, we were science-led. We were science-led. We were led by science. Science means understanding the nature well. That's what science is about. So when our scientists analyzed this disease, we could see where the danger was and where the opportunity was. And that's what guided us. Now we had this virus, but we had also to support life. We could not say because of the virus we abandon all activities, because those activities are the ones which support us. The question, however, was what social, economic, and spiritual activities can we safely undertake? That was the question. Which activities, economic ones, social ones, spiritual ones, can we undertake safely? On the one hand, we need to do activities that we normally do, but which ones of them can we do safely? At the same time, avoid this sickness. Fortunately, since this virus mainly spreads like many viruses do, where there is overcrowding. I told you that before the Europeans came, our ancestors defeated smallpox or Museveni by the same methods. The last smallpox epidemic was in 1893, before the Europeans came here. But our people defeated it by some of the measures like we are telling you today. And those ones include avoiding crowding. Because when you crowd, you make the disease spread faster. So therefore, we looked at the activities. Which activities that will not involve crowding? Fortunately, we had agriculture. Agriculture, our type of agriculture especially, is in the homesteads. The homesteads are scattered. Each family is by itself. Whether you are in crops, or in livestock, or in fishing, you are spread across the country. So we said agriculture should continue because doesn't have much risk from this disease. But don't come to the towns, you just stay where you are. Then we said even the factories could continue. That time we said provided the workers camp near the factory. That's what we started with. But later on we relaxed that because we knew that The factory people are known. There are 200, you know them. Museveni, Uganda, they are always working here. Even when they go home, you know where they stay. As long as they don't go to bars and so on, they go from work to home, you can easily trace them. Even if there is even if some of them are infected, you can trace who they are because they are known. You know them here, where they are working. Maybe you know how they are going home. You know the people they have at home. It is easy to follow them up. So we said the factories later on can even factory workers can go home, come and work and go home because they are traceable. The people on the construction sites who are constructing things, we said those could continue. Then on the food markets, the markets, we separated them. We said in this type of crisis, what you need most is food. As long as food is there, other things can come later. So let's make sure there is food. So the food markets should remain open. But other people who are not food sellers, please get out of the markets. Because without separating the food sellers and the non-food sellers, you could not ensure the social distancing, the one we talked about. You could not say Tonsembelela, when you have got people who are selling food, the ones who are selling ebikoi, the ones who are selling I don't know what, selling cattle, things that have nothing to do with food. So we said no, the markets should only remain for food. Other people stay out. Then on the social side, then on the services side, we said hospitals must remain open. Of course, security forces and so on. A number of what we call essential services should remain open. Then on the social side, we said the marriages should continue, but should continue scientifically. Scientifically means you just bring people who are necessary in the marriage. Recently I married off one of my children, and I chased off all the irrelevant people because we were conducting a legal operation, and the leader of the legal operation was Archbishop Kazimba with the 2 priests. Those were 3. On my side, we were 9, including Mama and 7 others. On the other side, there were 7. The whole of ceremony went on legally and spiritually, and the only thing we missed was the crowd, which normally comes on our usual weddings. That's the only thing we missed. But spiritually and legally, everything was perfect. That daughter of mine is now legally and spiritually married and gone. This was the other weekend. So we said the social, let them be scientific. Scientific means just bring the necessary people. The barriers, the same. That's what we said. Then cargo transport. Cargo transport also was very crucial. You remember there was a debate about that. Some people even wanted to stop the cargo. I said no. This one is so vital. There's no way you can stop cargo. So that's what we did that time. We said these ones, the rest, halt, suspend, but these must continue. Now later on, after careful study, we added passenger vehicles. After some weeks, we added passenger vehicles, provided they observed what we called SOPs. standard operational procedures. Don't have full load, don't do this, don't do that. And public transport resumed. Then we also resumed restaurants. Restaurants and hotels were allowed to operate, provided they observed the SOPs. Then shops also. Shops, the standalone shops, but also the shopping malls were allowed to operate, provided they follow the SOPs. Now, because of that, that's why we are where we are. After 4 months of enemy attack, only 1,072 people were infected, and 900 and something, more than 900 of them have been healed and gone away, and nobody has died. Now, it seems some people are not happy with this. They are saying, why are Ugandans not dying? They are not happy. They are not happy. So, they come with all sorts of untested ideas. This one, this. But this is no problem. Any activity can take place provided it can be done safely. That's the issue. It's not anything else. It's not that we have got fitna against anybody or we are careless. No. Only that we don't want you to kill our people because you are looking for money. Money. At the beginning, we said, please, all these things are important. Money is important, business is important, but life is number one. Anything that threatens life, we are not going to accept. We are not going to accept. So that's why everything we do, I involve the scientists, our scientists. Fortunately, you are lucky, you have got very good scientists. This education, which we started was actually started by the British. But when we came, we ballooned it. It became so big, so many universities. You've got very good people, very good scientists. And that's why I would like you to agree to my idea of paying them well. Instead of paying storytellers, you should pay these scientists well. But people don't always accept my ideas. I'm always fighting as if I'm fighting to weed my garden or what. Always begging this one, begging that one, begging that one. But scientists should be paid. Well, these scientists can do a lot for this country. Now, after these people, whenever anything comes, you study it because they are there. But I'm beginning to hear some people attacking scientists. You can go to hell if you attack our scientists. I will tell you to go to hell because you are an enemy of our country. And we are not going to, we have fought many wars, we shall fight also with you. These are people who are looking for nothing. They just use their knowledge to say, this one is this one. Why should anybody be hostile to them? Why? In one of the other centuries, 15 something, there was a pope, His Holiness the Pope. I don't remember his name. You can go and look for it on the internet. There was a scientist called Galileo. In the past, people used to think that the earth was flat. They didn't know. They thought it was like a table. But this scientist, I don't know how he studied it, Galileo. He said, no, the earth is not round, it is not flat, it is round. And I think he even pointed out that it is the sun, the earth which is going around around the sun. But this Pope, I think, even hanged Galileo. Oh, imagine. The man who was right was hanged by an ignorant Pope. So, humility by people is very, very important. If a country wants to survive, listen to the people who know. And these scientists happen to know some of these things of science. So therefore, after we had resolved the other issues, the ones I've mentioned, I said, now you study the others. There's been the issue of the arcades. And of course, people also should, when you have got Bapakasi, if you have got porters, you should always remember that don't give them too much work. So these scientists, I don't give them too much work. I give them some work. You study this first, and once they have done it well and finished, then we move. So after we have finished the other activities, the ones that I talked about, like the restaurants, the shopping malls, then I said, you study these others. They have now come with their conclusions. They studied the arcades. Now, these arcades, they found had a lot of problems. First of all, they are enclosed. Secondly, they have got corridors between, I don't know, between what and what, between, I think, different subunits. Those corridors are called Ebikubo. Now you had people sailing in the Ebikubo, in the corridors, people were sailing there. You had too many people sailing inside one shop, sailing on the veranda, sailing on the steps, sailing on the roadsides, in front of these arcades. So these scientists have now studied this and produced a report. And we have now decided, on the advice of the scientists, that we can open these arcades. Some of the arcades, not all, provided they have the following. Number one, temperature guns. These are things which measure people's whether you have got a fever. Social distancing must be observed. hand washing, no traders, no people in the corridors in the Bikubo, no people there. A corridor is a corridor, it's not a shop, it's not. No traders on the verandas, no traders on the steps or the roadsides. They must also keep records. Everybody who buys there must be recorded. Yoweri Museveni, ID card number this, of Rwakitura, or Nakasero, whichever you address you want. Why do we need this record must be in the book? And why do we need the record? In case you get sick, the shop fellow, the shop seller, we need to know which people you have interacted with so that we can follow them up. That's why we need a record. The shoppers also must social distance. The sellers social distance inside. Abakora mudukezo, but you know, we know question. This is the Nyankore one for Binja part. But also the shoppers who come in shop, they must have social distance. They don't come to go. No. You arrange them. They come. No air conditioning. No air conditioning. Because air conditioning is what causes problems in Europe and the US, that they are advanced. That advancement that does not respect nature is part of the problem. I never use air conditioning. I think the air conditioning in your government house in Entebbe, I switched it off long ago. So that air conditioning is very dangerous because it is the one which is circulating the virus. Everybody must put on masks. Everybody, the shop assistants, the shoppers must all put on masks. Enough toilets. Enough toilets. If you have got an arcade which does not have enough toilets, we shall close it permanently. Because there is no reason why you should create a disease-causing unit in the town here. If you are looking for money, then look for money safely. And I don't know whether they resolve even the issue of paying for going to the toilet. I don't know whether that has come up, because that was a big issue at one time. Now, apparently, in Kampala there have been 230 arcades. Well, these arcades, I wanted to find out what they sell. What do these arcades sell? Whose products do they sell? I was told at one time they were selling Chinese products. That is their job. Their job was to make us a market of China. Those arcades and Kasita group, Kasita, this sector. Their job, their historical mission, is to make that sure that Uganda is a market of China, is a market of India, is a market of Dubai. And we have been advising, I even called them to interview, I said, please, you people, it's really amazing because Chinese, when you go to, I was somewhere in the industrial area recently, Namamvi. The other time I was in Kapeka. And the Chinese in Kapeka told me, we started importing ceramic tiles here. And we saw there was a big market, so we decided to make the factory of ceramic markets here. The Chinese, when he imports 1 year, 2 years, and he says there is a good market, he builds a factory here. And that was what I saw the other day. I was also visiting another factory in Namam of Chinese. The same idea that there was, I think there was bringing, I don't remember what, the one I visited last, bring some, once they saw the market was there, they built a factory here. Now, these Arcades fellows have been Osaka from China for 30 years. To buy from China, never thinking of building a factory here. There's a problem there. There's a problem there. We cannot go on being a market of other people. So these arcades should shift and sell our products. I don't mind if they are selling our products. Products made here. Because those products, when it is made here, it creates jobs for your children. And so is our pocket support now the jobs of Chinese. When you buy Chinese products, you are supporting jobs for the Chinese children in China. And then you are crying here that our people have no jobs. So although we are opening these arcades and the other ones, the shopping malls and all that, please start working to produce many of the products you are selling. If you know that there is a market, a big market here, then produce those products here. There was a man called Kashwada of Ujir. It used to be called Ujir. A Chinese man, a Japanese. You can imagine this man, Kashwada. He came here first time in 1955. He told me the story. He's now old. He has gone back to Japan, I think. I don't know. He came here in 1955. How did you come? 1955. He said, I was a young salesman. I was taking shots to Bangkok, Thailand. He would go from Japan with the shots to Bangkok. And there he met Africans who were buying those shots in big numbers and taking them away. Then imagine a Japanese. He got curious, but these Africans who buy so many shots, where did they come from? He found they were from Uganda. Uganda. Let me go to Uganda. He came to Uganda here. And then he went up to Masaka. He found all the shots he was selling in Bangkok were now being sold here in Uganda. That's how, after independence, he came and set up a factory, the Ujir factory. Because he had seen there is a big market, and because of that, his answer was to set up a factory. But our people, the answer is Osaka indefinitely. This is not acceptable. That group of people are breeders. They are breeding us. taking blood out of us to give to other people. So anyway, those arcades, apparently in Kampala there are 230. 171 have been inspected. Only 110 are compliant. And those are the ones that will be allowed to open. The others must fulfill the requirements. Then we come to the salons. Our grandchildren's garages for hair. Mine is all right. It doesn't need. Mine is handled by Mama. Mama just. But the other day, I was actually worried about salons. How do you manage to keep people from infecting one another with salons? But the other day I spoke to one of the salon people, Mrs. Masoro. Apparently she's the wife of one of our people. And she educated me. She said, don't worry, we shall be like doctors in the hospital. And your doctors treating corona people? I said, yes. How are they doing it? They dress up. They put on gloves. They put on masks. I said, but the masks are not foolproof. The breath can get out of many of these masks. So he said, no, we shall add what they call face shield. Oh, so it will be like, she told me, it will be like a dentist. Dentists are attending to people's teeth safely. I said, okay, if you can protect yourself and protect the client, that's wonderful. Then my next question to her was, but how about the clients? Because you are protected yourself against the client, and the client is protected because the client is also putting on a face mask. The client is putting on a face mask. You are putting on a face mask and a shield. But then between the client and the client, the social distancing. So I was happy to see that there could be an answer to that. So therefore, we are also going to open the salons, provided they ensure masks for everybody and face shields for the operators, the surgeons. Bali abasawo bakola ku nviiri, because it is also science. I don't know what they do with the hair to take it from African to Indian. It's quite a science. It's quite a science. So they will put on face shields. They will then there will be temperature guns to check the temperature of everybody who comes in. Social distancing for the operators. So those specialists in hair science, they will have to have, if you have got a number of them, they have distance between themselves. And then the clients also have distance between themselves. No air conditioning, just natural airing. In the towns, you may even have to have partitioning in the towns, but in the rural areas, they may not have so many clients, so you can have some variations. Hand washing, etc. So the Minister of Health will work out SOPs for these salons so that they can open safely. Now, border borders, I was really worried about border borders. And even today I was meeting some of my border borders. I was not sure that we could find a solution. Because the border, yeah, these are two people. Some people even put three. How will you ensure that the other one doesn't affect the other one? But your scientists have come up with a solution. When Dr. Jane Achen reported to me in the afternoon, he said, no, we have found a solution. What is the solution? He said, don't worry. The rider is already putting in a mask. But a mask, the lawyer can go through, and because I normally see this lawyer when I put it on, when I have my spectacles, I see mist forming my spectacles. My spectacles don't see properly. But now, apparently, what we are not, I think, zeroed on was that in addition to the mask, the border fellow will put on a helmet, and the helmet is really covering the face and enclosing the mask inside. Oh, so okay. And then this other one behind is having a mask. So they said it was all right. That's what you told me. So, since it is they now think, no, but you must also have a records book. The border must record everybody he transports. Or border alinokuandika buli musabaze yenna gwasabaza bakwete okusabaza. Alinokuandika erinnya lye, esimu ye, endangamuntu ye. Why? In case if the border tests get sick, we want to know how many people he was in contact with, and we go for them. So we need this record. But the border fellows also now need to be organized. To be in one place? No. So they must be, the Minister of Transport is going to give them stages where they can work from. So therefore, the borders will open on the 27th of July. The others, the saloons, the arcades, it is immediate from tomorrow. But the borders will be allowed to operate again to carry passengers. They have been carrying cargo. But I think I hear the cargo went down when we opened for public transport. It went down. But now they can resume. And they must clean the seats. When the passenger goes, you sanitize the seat with a sanitizer. And also they should have temperature guns. I don't know whether they can afford or they can be at the stage or what. I don't know how they. You will see how to help them with that. But I don't think individually they will nanny. So now that deals with the, I'm very happy to find really the scientists found something for the borders, because me, I was not sure that there was a way. In fact, I was beginning to think of encouraging them to go to helping them to go to other activities. But fortunately, if there is a way, then this is good now. Now, then the issue of curfew. I've been getting feedback from people saying that this curfew of 7 is making things quite difficult for people. So therefore, we have decided that the curfew ends at 9 in the night, at 9, 2100 hours. That is when the curfew starts. Curfew starts at 9. Starts za usiku and ends at 5:30. From 9 in the night to 5:30. But the borders must stop at 6. The borders, because the borders were being used for crime. Those ones that will not allow them to operate in the night, because they were being used for crime. And until they clean themselves of all criminals, they should stop at 6. They were stopping at 5 now. They can now go up to 6 and stop. Now, so that leaves us with the churches, because the churches also have been, talking of opening. But of course, you know that the churches attract a lot of people from different sources. So I have asked the scientists to continue discussing with them, with the church leaders, how they think it can be done safely. Let's look for how it could be done safely. But for now, I think let's maintain what we have been doing, the status quo, and they discuss with the scientists, and we see how, because some people have been talking of some few people per session. Let the scientists discuss with the Interreligious Council all those issues, and once they agree with the scientists, I will be very happy to support it. Now the schools, we shall have to make a big decision before September, because third term is starting in September. We are studying, we are watching the situation, because the numbers of the schools are so big and crowded in our school systems. It's really something that we need to handle with a lot of care. Toward the end I will say something, but for now we are now going to put a lot of emphasis on the distance learning, which we agreed on some weeks ago. That is providing radios. We are meeting this afternoon with the Minister of Education and the Minister of Finance. Some money has been identified to start buying the radios for the 9 million families, so that the teaching through radios continues. But before September, we shall have to make a big decision, either to open some of the schools maybe the candidate classes, or to declare a dead year, or whatever. But let's not rush. Let's continue study. Something may come up. Something I don't want to, because you see, if we get a vaccine on which the world is working so hard, including ourselves, we are not sleepy. I have made it clear that Uganda for sure will not be left out of the scientific race for vaccine. We shall be there. Whether others are there first before us or we are there first, we shall also be there. We shall no longer be here like maggots waiting for other people to come and treat us, to look for medicine. If you don't look for medicine, we shall die as if they owe us a living. Where you say, if you don't do this, I will not do it. Now imagine Africans, Europeans. If you don't bring medicine, we shall die. And we are comfortable sitting here, waiting for the Europeans to either get the medicine or we shall die. If you don't bring the medicine, you Europeans, we are going to die. So you bring the medicine quickly. I'm not part of that group. We shall get the medicine ourselves. Or if the others get it before us, we shall also be there with them. So our teams are working on both the vaccine, not both. They are working on the vaccines, on the diagnostics, and on the treatment, on the medicine. The Manyankole say, "Agoga en gobtosa." The water you thought was not enough may be the one which does a lot of work. So that's why I don't want to say we declare a dead year now. What if we get a vaccine? Because the vaccine, our children can go back with their overcrowding, with their what? What if we get a treatment? Or what if the present treatments are refined? Because these treatments which we are using to support the body, to defeat the virus, although what they are using, it doesn't kill the virus, but it supports the body to fight the virus better. What if we refine them better? Then we shall have no worry. We shall say, go back, if you get sick, we shall treat you. So that's why I don't want, let's give ourselves this month and concentrate on the alternative learning, on the long distance learning. As we watch things in August, then we shall decide, we shall announce. Now that's mainly for the government schools, but the private schools have got particular problems. The private schools, private institutions, you know, these ones depend mainly on the money brought by the learners. So when the learners are not there, the institution cannot stand. So they really have problems. And yet there are people who had helped us, because I was asking them how many teachers are there in the private schools. 350,000. If you count the ones in the pre-primary, in the primary, in the secondary, in the tertiary, there are 350,000. young Ugandans employed as teachers by those private schools. This is not to count other jobs, cleaners, what have you. So therefore, really the government cannot ignore, just keep aloof and say you're private, shauri yako. No, that's not correct. So they met the minister and they were talking about a number of problems which they are having. First of all, they have loans with banks. We are going to study these loans. What can we do to the law about the loans? Can they be taken over by UDB, for instance, and get off this, because normally these are loans from commercial banks, which are really exploiters of borrowers. We shall study that. We are going to study it. NSSF, the contribution. They're supposed to contribute to NSSF, but this one can really be suspended. You cannot say they contribute when they were not earning. I think for this month, when they were not earning, they should not contribute to NSSF. We have already started discussing with the Minister of Finance. Salaries, these young Ugandans are not getting paid now. But when I looked at the number, they are so big, it's not a small amount of money. So what can be done? We are also going to discuss that. Because if they are 350,000, even if you are to say, even 1 month, I tried to use my calculator to calculate, even if you are paying 500,000 per person, that's 175 billion for 1 month. To pay them, to pay that additional group. 1 month or 500,000 per person is 175 billion. If you are to say we support the private people for 6 months, the money will be almost 7 trillion, like 1/3 of the budget of Uganda. But what can be done? How do we help the private, these young Ugandans? Does the government pay them a quota? Does it pay them? Does it help what? We are going to sit down and think and see how we can help them. Some of the private of these education institutions are in rented buildings. But what can we do about rent? I think there we can only encourage the landlords to be reasonable. But I wouldn't like to really to go into that to say we pay for you or what. I think that would be too much. But what we can look at is UDB to start funding some of especially the infrastructure, the structures. If a college is building a building, UDB can lend them money. So this is something definite, which can. And the microfinance, I will direct microfinance center to give SACCOs, to give loans to the staff SACCOs, so that they can access that money and build themselves. Even me, I'll contribute 2 billion shillings to the SACCO of the private schools teachers. I'm trying to look for things which one can do without collapsing yourself, because I don't want to to be like the woman who tried to be praised by her husband. And then the woman said, my dear husband, you come and I carry you on your back, an old person. So you come and I carry you on my back, but I love you so much. You come and carry you on my back, an old person. So the man came and tried to go on the back of the woman. But because the man was an old person with long legs, the long legs upset the grinding stone, and all the millet poured on the floor. So I don't want to really do what is impossible, what I cannot do. But what is possible, like the NSSF, like this one, we can do, and we shall also see how we can. Because the private schools had done a good job, but this Salon has come. Now for the mobile markets, our scientists are still talking with these people. Let them continue talking. We may get some solution. Then the international airport will remain closed until the situation abroad settles down. Because there's so much chaos in some of the foreign countries. I don't want to expose. I know we are losing a lot of money because of tourism, but the Banyakore say amagara gakira magana. Life is better than wealth. Health is better than wealth. So the airport will remain closed, and so are the borders. Borders will remain closed also. So I would like really to encourage Ugandans, when we're having a crisis like this, it's like a test. It's like a test. I think God brought this to test us, to see whether we are people who care about our country. If you say that because you are looking for money, you don't care whether people die or not, I cannot agree with you. Fortunately, I am also an economic actor. I'm not an idle person. I am a cattle keeper. And we cattle keepers repeatedly, not once, not twice, suffer a lot of losses because of calamities. Like, for instance, a disease called foot and mouth. This foot is called Curfew in Uganda. This foot and mouth, when it comes, they put us under quarantine. Like, we were under quarantine for 3 years because some cows came from Tanzania and we were put under quarantine. And we couldn't sell milk, we couldn't sell beef, but we had to accept, because you see, the logic is, if you don't quarantine, these cows will go and infect other cows. Not human beings, but cows. But that will cause economic loss, because if you have foot and mouth, Other countries will not allow you to export beef, will not allow you to export milk or butter or ghee. So, because of the country, for us, we suffer loss. And we accept it. The other year, we had what they call avian flu. A disease came from Asia, Asia. Those diseases are always coming from somewhere. That avian flu came. It actually did not kill many chickens, but some birds which were flying through Uganda died near Nabugabo. Oh, Uganda was closed. We could not sell poultry to Kenya, eggs, what they closed us off. Avian flu kills chicken, but it also kills people. So we have to accept the quarantine. The swine fever, these pigs also get fever sometimes. And I think that fever affects people also. And they come and kill the pigs. They come and kill them actually. The other time when there was the mad cow disease in the world, cows were killed. So therefore, people who have been saying that because of economy, this is a wrong argument. Economy cannot be at the expense of people. Then others make a false argument, which is, but if I don't get my business, I may also die because of poverty, because of this, because of this. Yes, but for you, if the chicken has a problem, the Baganda have a name called Mukasa. Mukasa is a very well-known name among our Baganda people. This Mukasa was Rivare Wenyanja, is the guardian spirit of the lake. But Mukasa in Runyankore is called Mugasha. He was a Mtrezi from Zimbabwe area. But when he went to the islands, I think the cows died in Zimbabwe. He went to the islands, he became a fisherman, became Mukasa. So I can change activity if I've got an activity which has a problem, like they say, borders, there's no way. I'm glad that you have found a solution. But suppose we have found no solution, where the borders could operate without causing us a problem, then the logic would be, okay, let's help these people to go to another activity. So there is flexibility. There is flexibility in enterprise selection. If this enterprise has a problem, you can shift. But death is finished. You are dead. There is no option. There is no alternative. You are dead. This one is irreversible. You cannot compare the irreversible with the optional. I am doing what I am doing. If it has got a problem which cannot be solved, I can shift to another one. So please, I don't want people to compare uncomparables. There is no comparison between this pandemic with anything else. With anything else, there is no comparison. This should not be to say. I have been hearing some people saying, but people can die because of economic. Economic is those activities which are causing infection are not. It's not all activities. Today I was discussing with the border. They were saying, okay, but for us to get Netulima. Some of the people have gone back to the villages to cultivate. So don't compare uncomparables. Because it confuses our people. You equate things which are not equatable. I cannot equate survival with opportunity. If I lose one opportunity, I can look for another one. But if I am dead, if I'm not there, then all opportunities are shut to me. So really, as leaders, we ought to be very, 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 very thorough in our logic. Now, this selfishness is really not acceptable, and in some cases we would have to confront it. Now here, you remember some people had destroyed the lake by bad fishing. They were making money. They were making money by catching young fish, taking it to Congo and selling it. They were making money and building new buildings here. But they were doing it in such a selfish way that they were destroying the opportunities of the country. And the UPDF confronted them. We had left it to the fisheries, I don't know whatever they call them. Then police. The lake had perished. Our fishing industry had perished. Then I put in the UPDF. This is now what is in that lake. This is a Nile patch, which is, this particular one is 87 kilograms. It is heavier than me now. Because now I'm at 76. So this Nile patch is heavier than me now. But it can grow to 300 kilograms apparently. And I have got a study which says that Uganda can get a minimum of $156 billion a year from this Nile patch. Apparently, what they are taking now is the meat. The meat of the Nile patch is not the most important. It is the bladder. The bladder, what they call enuni. The bladder that it has got special quality. The bladder of which helps it float in the water. The bladder. It is so expensive. A kilo is 10 million shillings. And one mature importer can give you 3 kilos. So that bladder of this importer can get you 30 million shillings equivalent, which is like, how many dollars? Like, is it 30,000 or No.
It's about $9,000.
Oh, $9,000. One bladder of this one here. So therefore, I was looking at the figures. Saudi Arabia, from oil, gets $110 billion a year. For us, from the enuni of the Nile patch, we can get $156 billion. More money than all the money Saudi Arabia gets from oil. So therefore, I don't want to hear selfish people. These are enemies of our future. The one who says, I want this, I don't care what happens. No, you must care. If you don't care about our country, we don't care about you. You must. This we confront it everywhere. In fishing, I don't care. I'm just getting what I want myself. I don't care about. You must care. If you don't care about our country, you should go to another country. You cannot spoil the ones who are destroying forests, the ones who are destroying wetlands. They don't care. They don't care. What he cares is what he gets himself, even if it is at the expense of the whole country. This is not acceptable. So, therefore, on this, what we are doing now, I'm glad we are getting a solution, win-win solution, where the private person, operator, is all right, but does not damage us. That's the minimum. There is no compromise on that, and those who are talking should always be mindful of that. Now, I have been hearing some people say, "Oh, we shall demonstrate, we shall riot." If you riot, we are also here, waiting for you. We shall deal with you. I've been hearing all sorts of opportunities. With foreigners, they are always with foreigners. You can go with your foreigners, we are here. We have been here since the time of the Batembuzi, since the time of the Batrezi, since the time of these new kings who came recently, these ones who are here, the Kabakas and all who are here. And you can plan whatever you plan, we shall crush you. Now, on the side of the economy, I forgot my my newspaper of yesterday, the Kabushenga's paper. Finally, Kabushenga was writing good things about his country. He was pointing out that the exports of Uganda in May went up. Exports of gold, of coffee and so on, went up in May. He did not give the figures of June, but I think they are coming. Then he also pointed out that the shilling was appreciating, was gaining value from 3,700 to 3,600 something. So the economy, certain aspects of the economy are actually growing, and they are going to grow more. So I would like to thank especially the farmers and the manufacturers, because the farmers are producing more. I think our coffee exports have reached 7 million bags. This is the first time. The milk is too much. The maize, the bananas. Now, people are worried. So where shall we? The sugar cane and sugar. People are worried. So where shall we send these products? First of all, that's what we always tell you. But in terms of politics, work for the politics of East Africa, for the integration of East Africa. Well, if East Africa integrates, and Central Africa, Congo, other parts of Africa, if we integrate, we solve the problem of uniting our markets. That's where our future lies. So those who come and talk about tribes, about religion, those are just your enemies. You have now seen it for yourself. Who is to buy your bananas? Who used to buy your milk? Who used to buy your sugar cane? Who used to buy your maize? Everything you produce needs bigger and bigger markets. But in the meantime, like for instance for the milk, there are markets other than the Uganda market, the East African market, there are other markets. For instance, there is this market in Algeria where they consume 3.8 billion liters of milk per year. And I'm told that they import a lot of that from outside. So we're already in touch with the Algerian government on this issue about us selling our especially powdered milk to Algeria. Morocco, they consume 1.8 billion liters. Nigeria, 1.3 billion liters. This is 1.3 billion, they say, tons. That's much. So there are these markets which we are working on. The people of sugar, leta mwani yangu, for instance, maize. We have a lot of maize which is not bought, but at the same time, you find that Uganda is importing animal feeds. Animal feeds are from maize. I can see here, Uganda imported $21 million worth of animal feeds. We are going to support our youth groups to produce these animal feeds so that we don't have to import any animal feed. This $21 million should go to our children. So therefore, I'm very happy that the farmers are producing the maize, a lot of maize, which is being used as maize flour for eating, but also making animal feed. And this $21 million will be ours. This was 2018. 2019 it was $24 million. Animal feed, which we are importing. People who have got too much maize, which is Okodiba, which is not being bought, are importing animal feeds, which are made from maize flour, maize. So we are going to support our youth groups to make this maize meals here, animal feeds from maize here. The market of animal feeds in Africa is 923 million. So apart from supplying ourselves, we may supply other countries, especially the ones which are nearby. The ones like Zambia, you never know. And in the world, the demand for animal feeds is $30 billion. So this is a big business. Of course, I don't know the transport costs and so on. But here, the producers of maize, don't be discouraged. We are going to find a bigger market, if not just for eating as flour, but for also making animal feeds and other products. then you come to juices, like the bananas. Because we are producing a lot of bananas, the price has gone down. But you find that Uganda is still importing juices. For instance, we are importing juices worth about $2 million. And there is a demand in Africa for juices to the tune of 519 million. It was $564 million in 2019. The world demand for juices is $17 billion. So let's not be discouraged by saying that we're producing fruits, there's no market. The market is there. It is a question of being smarter. Now on the issue of sugar. The sugar which we say is now in surplus is sugar for tea. But Uganda alone imports 72,000 tons of industrial sugar. This is the sugar for Coca-Cola and so on. 72,000 tons, which is $41 million. That's what Uganda imports. The African market for industrial sugar it is a bit mixed up. Okay, it is here. I think the total demand of industrial sugar in the world is it's not very clear here. World demand is 31 billion dollars. So it's quite a lot of, there are a lot of opportunities other than what is available here. So therefore, I want to congratulate our producers for the agricultural products. We now have a big surplus of so many things, and I can see the farmers may get worried that the market is not there, but the market is there. It is a question of changing our production strategy, not only producing the primary, but also the secondary. Now, finally, our minister Jenna Cheng got into some problem in Lira. Jenna Cheng is a good scientist. I found her I discovered her, like when Columbus discovered like when Speke discovered the Nile. When he found that we already knew where the Nile was, but he came and discovered it. So one time I had gone to Lira, in the days when we were fighting the terrorists. And I went to the hospital. I found there a young lady working very dedicatedly. So I noted her, and then later on I brought her, because I could see that she was very committed. I brought her to the ministry. I said, you come and bring the devotion I saw in Lida, come and bring it in the headquarters here as the Director General of Medical Services. And she worked there until when I made her a minister. Now, when I made her a minister, and this corona came, she, together with her team, they did a good job. So the rank is, now, before that, she had told me that should she go and stand in leader? I said no, don't go to stand, because you don't need to stand. Your constituency is in Nakasero. Don't have to bother with those languages. You do your work. Your constituency is here. That's when we were in Togo. Togo, which month was this? January? So I thought I had convinced her to leave those languages alone and concentrate on the medical work of the ministry. But when the corona came, together with her team, they did a good work. So the languages were so happy. So now we have got a very good land. You must come. They wrote to me. I have their letters here. Very big language people. This girl must come. Banchariao. When I was still there, I found that the languages have taken the lady to make her an MP. Now, then, unfortunately, because you need to be used to this political, because she's used to the laboratory with the white coat and things like that, where the doctors are respected. But when she went to distribute masks. I don't know whether it was masks or something else hidden behind. But when she got there, those language women, and you know language women are not people whom they are very tough people. So I even saw the video myself. They went into a procession, and the poor girl was behind there. I don't know whether she was running or walking. And then the video went viral, and I'm told that people rightly said, "But you girl, you have been the one telling us to put on not to congregate, but you are congregating." But really, that's why you need to learn some experience. The other day I stopped at the water near Kturu, where the water is coming near the road on the way to Entebbe. I stopped to see the water, but in no time a crowd gathered. What I did, I had to run away. So if somebody had taken a picture with the crowd which I had not invited, which I had not what, they would have said Museveni has now violated COVID regulations. So I think Jane will explain in her own way, but I suspect, I don't think that she's the one who said, "You come and we have a rally." The problem was to put herself in a situation where these people were proud. The other day when I was going to Jinja for Chimaka, for the army school, I was going to Namamve. The other time when I went to Nakasonga, I just avoid stopping anywhere, because if I stop anywhere, people will gather. So that's what you, the leaders, you need to know, all of you. If you really want you care about your people, don't stop. Don't stop. Or if you are going to meet people, meet them in very controlled situations. When I went to Moroto for the marble factory, the leaders were all well controlled and so on, scattered, sitting properly. When I went to Kasisi, it's the same. So now, if you don't have that type of controlled situation, until the virus is contained, please don't go into the public. So I think Jen has learned. I don't think that she really is the one who called the meeting, because I think people are now saying, look at this one, she's a hypocrite. You are saying you shouldn't congregate, yet you are the one who called the meeting. But I doubt very much that she's the one who called the meeting. I think she found herself, she put herself in a situation which she could not control. Like happened with Atikitubul, but me, I ran away. I just ran from those people, I ran and left them. So I thank you very much for today. Let's end here. I wish you good luck. We shall continue to talk if anything new comes up. Thank you very much.
Okwogerako olunaku olwaleero ayogedde ku nsonga nnyingi. Yatandise essaawa nga 3:30 saa 2:30 almost genda mu 3 awo, naye atambulira ddala zizino zikunukkiriza essaawa 5 bulede kikanga 2 okutuuka ku ssaawa 5 ez'ekiro ekyolwaleero. Naye okufundizaamu bwe yayogedde ensonga z'abaakeedi, agambye nti baakebera akeedi 203. Agambye nti mu Kampala mwonna mulimu akeedi 203, ku ezo baasobola okukeberako akeedi 171, ate nga akeedi 110 zikiriziddwa okubanga zikola okutandika n'olunaku olw'enkya, naye nga zina okugoberera ebimu ku biragiro byonna byatadde wansi. Agambye nti zina okubeera ne akuuma akakebera ebbugumu oba kabayita temperature gun, zina okubanga zisobola okuteekawo enkola eyatonsemberera wakati w'abasuubuzi oba abatunda ebintu ebyo ate n'abantu abajja okubanga bagula ebintu ebyo. Zina okuba n'ebifo abantu balina okubanga banaabira mu ngalo ate nga tebalina kubeera nga batundira mu nkuba ezo zagenze maaso oba ku mbalaza zaazo. Era agambye nti ziteekeddwa okuba nga zikuuma ebiwandiiko. Buli muntu ajja okuba nga agulamu akeedi oba mu dduuka lyo, oteekeddwa okuba nga omuwandiika amanye avuddewa, asulawa, omuggyeko n'ennamba y'essimu okumanyira ddala singa wabaawo akanyamberege ak'ekirwadde ne kibalukawo, babasobola okutwesinga abantu abo n'okubakubira amasimu okuba nga batuukako. Agaanye empewo eno, ebiwujja ebyo ebiwujja empewo byonna biwereddwa mu zaakeedi zino. Agambye ayagala mpewo ya butonde yebeera egenda mu maaso okubanga ewujja mu bifo ebyo ebyakeedi ezo 110 ezikiriziddwa okubanga zikola nga bwe nkugambye kutandika n'olunaku olw'enkya. Ate abantu bonna bagenda okubeera mu zaakeedi zino bateekeddwa okubanga balina mask oba obukookolo. Ate era agambye nti wateekeddwa okubanga waliwo ebifo bikyamirwamu oba bukaabuyonjo obumala, ate nga ayagala singa kiba kisobose obufo buno obukyamirwamu oba bukaabuyonjo obwo tebuteekeddwa kubeera nga bwakusasulira. Era alagidde minisita wa Kampala Betty Amongi abeere nga atereeza ensonga eyo nti akeedi zonna ebifo ebikyamirwamu biteekeddwa okubeera nga bya bwereere ate bisobozesa abantu bano okubanga basobola okubyeyambisa. Bwavudde awo agenze ku bannaffe aba Salon namwe mukkiriziddwa okubanga mukola okutandika n'olunaku olw'enkya with immediate effect. Kakati gwe wa Salon essaawa eno wandibadde ate essaawa za kafe zayiseeko dda, teekateeka olunaku olw'enkya oteeke ebyuma ebyo byolina okubanga okozesa. Naye agambye nammwe abakolera mu Salon muteekeddwa okubanga mwambadde face shield. Oyo agenda okubanga akolako oba akwata mu mutwe gwo ateekeddwa okubanga alina shield eyo gyayambadde okulabika nti takusiiga ate nawe tobeera maaso genda maaso nga omusiiga. Oba si kikyo mwambale mask. Bw'oba osobola yambala mask ate oteekereko ne shield eyo okulabika nti wateekawo n'ebbanga wakati wono gw'ogenda okubanga okolako ate naawe agenda okubanga amukolako. Ddala abakyala kuba abaami abasinga ati bw'oba oyambadde mask ng'ozze kukolako ate ojja kuba okijjako okusala ekirevu, naye waakiri ono agenda okubanga akolako abeere ng'ayambadde mask eyo oba ataddeko face shield eyo. Era namwe agaanyeemu empewo eno ey'ebiwujja eyeetoloola, agambye teteekeddwa kubeera ng'egenda maaso mu bifo ebyo ebisalirwamu enviiri oba ebikola ku nviiri eza n'abaami n'abakyala agayibwe mbeera musobola mukole partition musaleemu ebitundu ebyenjawulo okwawulamu obusengo bw'enjawulo ddala eziri mu kibuga naye agambye eziri mu byalo bayinza okubanga ekyo tebakisobola bagende maaso n'enkola gibadde bagenda maaso nga bakoleramu era agambye muteekeyo ebifo ebyenjawulo abantu balina okubanga banaabira era amabanga gabeerewo wakati w'abakasitoma abalinda okubanga babakolako nammwe abagenda maaso okubanga mubakolako bw'avuddeewo n'agenda ku bannaffe aba bodaboda nga bwe nabagambye ku ntandikwa nti ensonga zammwe zatunuddwamu era mukkiriziddwa okubanga mukola naye mutemugenda tutandikira olunaku lwanca nga bwe kiri ku bannaffe bano abakeedi ate n'aba Salon bodaboda mwe mutandika nga ennaku z'omwezi 27 omwezi guno ogwa July naye nga era muteekeddwa okubanga mwambala mask ate oteekereko ne helmet oba enkofiira eyo gye muyita element olabike nga abawadde paka nga 27 kitegeeza nti ministry ekola ku by'entambula n'ebyenguudo egenda kubanga ennaku zino esigaddeyo okuva olunaku olw'enkya nga 22 okutuuka nga 27 egenda kubanga ekola ku nteekateeka zammwe eza stage agambye nti muteekeddwa okubeera ne ka sanitizer omusaabaze omu bw'ava ku bodaboda yo osobole okubanga osooka okufuuyirako ate omulala alyoka ajje agituleko ayogedde ku nsonga ya speed ensonga ya temperature gun n'agamba ekyo bagenda kitunulamu agambye nti abamu muyinza obutasobola kugula ka temperature kakapima omusaabaze ng'ogenda okumuteekako n'agambye muyinza okwekolamu nga stage oba ministry egenda kubanga etula mu kintu kino era bwe kiyinza okubeera nga kitambula kakati obuzibu obujjidde be bannaffe aba bodaboda muteekeddwa okubeera n'ekitabo nammwe buli musaabaze gw'ogenda okubanga otuuza ku piki yo sooka omuwandiike omugaye nti ani wamala ovuddewa nvudde lungujja olagawa obeerawa osulawa agambye mubeere n'ebitabo ebyo ebiwandika abasaabaze bemugenda okubanga mutambuza okumanyira ddala record ezo nga muzikuma bulungi singa wabajjawo embeera babasobola okutula mu bitabo ebyo ne basobola okutracinga abantu bameka bewatambuza ku lunaku oluba lugenda maaso okubanga lufundikirwa ekirungi ekirala kibongeddeko ku ntambula yammwe eya bodaboda muvudde ku ssaawa 11 zibadde mukomako lulinga muvuga ebifuluusi n'ebitereko okutwaliza awamu kubagambye nti kibadde munyigirizibwa okuva lwe baate entambula ate ey'olukale ebifuluusi byakenderamu oba emigugu gyakenderamu nti abantu abasinga ate badde bagitambuliza mu taxi n'entambula endala ey'olukale abalala baasi n'agambye omugenda kukoba ku ssaawa 12 ne curfew naye alinyisiddwamuko okuva ku ssaawa 1 ey'akawungeezi kati curfew atandika essaawa 3 ez'akawungeezi n'afundikira atandika ssaawa 3 avudde ku ssaawa 1 gy'abadde akomako n'ayongezebwayo kati atandika essaawa 3 ez'ekiro n'atambula paka ssaawa 11 n'ekitundu ez'okumakya ayogedde ku bannaffe ab'ebyenjigiriza amasomero agambye yeeyamye okuteekamu obuwumbi 2 obwa ssente eri ssaako z'abasomesa ab'obwannannyini masomero g'obwannannyini abasomesa abo 35,000 okubanga abayambako agambye wakati wa omwezi guno n'omwezi ogw'omwenda bagenda kuvayo n'okusalawo okwenkomeredde oba okusoma kunaagenda maaso third term n'etandika oba okudekalinga omwaka nti omwaka ogw'ebyensoma gufudde naye agambye wakati wa omwezi guno n'omwezi ogw'omwenda wayinza okubaawo ekyenjawulo bayinza okuzuula eddagala erigema ekirwadde ekya COVID-19 naye agambye essuubi lisigale nga likyaliwo then omwezi ogw'omwenda lwe bajja okujja gavumenti ewe ekyenkomeredde oba abaana banaddamu okusoma oba okudekalinga nti omwaka ogw'ebyensoma gulabikanga gufudde then tujja kubanga tufundikirira awo mbagaliza akaseera akalungi tujja kukwatagana olunaku olw'enkya nze Muhammad wamala ku lwa ttiimu yonna Rosette Kalungi abaddewo ku lwa bannaffe abaliko obulemu ttiimu ya control naye baddewo kubanga etambuza ebintu byonna tubagaliza akaseera akalungi musule bulungi ate bannaffe bagenda kujja bongera okutwala mu maaso musule bulungi mweraba.
Happening now. Tutaataganya mu mpeereza yaffe okukutuusaako ebyakagwawo. Happening now. Soul Television, Femunyo.
Halo? Polisi!